Hi, it's Shelly and welcome to my channel. What are we doing today? In today's video, I want to talk a bit about some things you should be aware of if you're planning a visit to Puerto Morelos this winter. This time of year, I know we're starting to think about coming south to get away from those cold temperatures up north. And if your plans include visiting Puerto Morelos for a short time or a longer time period, and if you've never been here, this video is for you. So introducing you to some essential information before you come is what we're doing today. Now, the first thing you'll need to know is that there are two sides to Puerto Morelos. There's Port Side and La Colonia. Now, when you take the highway from Cancun and from the airport, this highway kind of separates the two sides. Port Side is the more touristy area, and of course, Port Side, obviously that's where the beach is, and that's to the east of the highway. And on the west side of the highway is La Colonia, which is more of a residential area. Locals live here, as well as a lot of us foreigners live up here as well. Also, what separates the two is what they call the manglar, and that is just a very conservation area between the highway and Port Side. So this area is protected, so there is no development in there at the moment. Let's hope it stays that way. And just a little tip, if your Airbnb that you've rented says that they are 10 minutes from the beach, you're pretty much sure that you are going to be staying on La Colonia side. So the next thing I want to talk to you about is transportation. Now, there is no Uber services or anything like that here in Puerto Morelos. But there is a very good taxi service that you can catch Port Side. There's a phone number you can call to arrange a taxi, and there are various little taxi stands around town. Now, there's also a local bus that they call the Colectivo that you can catch. There are two routes that you can take. There's Route 1 and Route 2, and basically there's two main streets in Colonia side. There's what's called Zatina Gasca, and then there's Timon. So route number 2 follows up along Zatina Gasca, and route number 1 follows Timon. Depending on where you are staying will depend on which bus you're going to take. Most of the newer sort of gated communities up like Selva Escondido and those areas up there, you would take Route 1 and you will go up to Timon, and both of them end up at the beach. And you can catch both of them at the beach. So the way it works is you just kind of stand on the corner, and when you see it coming, you just give them a little wave and they'll pull over and you get on. It costs 10 pesos to ride. You can get all over town for 10 pesos. Now, if you want to go a little further, like into Playa del Carmen or into Cancun, there's also a Colectivo that you can catch. The one into Playa del Carmen is at the roundabout in front of the Chedraui. There's a bus station, little bus stop there, and you just jump on it, and it'll take you into Playa del Carmen. And on the opposite side of the roundabout, there's another little bus area that you can catch, the one going northbound into Cancun. The cost for this Colectivo is 30 pesos each way, and they run all the time. It just depends on, I think they just kind of sit there till they're full, and then they take off for whichever way they're going. Another thing I would like to say about transportation is to try and arrange your airport transfers before you arrive, because the taxi drivers there can get a little bit pricey, and you should probably be paying between 600 and 800 pesos to and from the airport. I think it's a little bit more expensive to come from the airport down to Puerto, but just try to arrange that before you actually arrive so that you're not standing out there and possibly fall prey to some of the taxi drivers that want to overcharge you. Okay, so you heard me mention Chedraui, and that is one of the major grocery stores in Puerto Morelos. There are three. There is a Chedraui at the highway, which is on La Colonia side. There is also a Super Chedraui at the beach side, port side. So both of those are great stores. They've got lots of supplies and you can do your groceries there. As well, just a little bit north of the Chedraui is another grocery store called a Super Aki. It's a little bit different, but again, great grocery store, and you're able to get pretty much everything that you will need for your stay here. There are bank machines available at both of the Chedrauis, so you can get cash out of your account from home there. Just remember to decline their conversion rate and take your own bank's rate, because you'll get a much better conversion rate. Also, don't be afraid to go into the little local shops as well. There's butcher stores, there's bakeries, there's fruiterias, there's all kinds of things that is usually just around the corner from where you're staying, and you don't have to go to the big grocery store. Now, when I go, what I do is I will either walk down to Chedraui or I will take the Colectivo down, and then I just grab a taxi to come back to my place with my groceries. So, and that usually runs me, it's under 50 pesos. I usually give them 50 pesos, which includes a tip. So yeah, so that's kind of what you're going to pay for transportation. As well as little local shops and the big grocery stores, there are a few markets here as well. On Wednesday mornings, port side from 8:30 till about 1, I believe. Down by the church, there is Wednesday morning market, they call it, and there's a few vendors there selling their wares. And then also on port side on the weekends, Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, there are some local artisans that come in and set up their little tables, and you can buy things, souvenir-y type things there. In the Colonia side, at the very south end of Timon, there is a Sunday morning flea market, and it's very much more local. It spans like a few city blocks, and there's all kinds of interesting, fun things to look at there, as well as some great places to grab a quick bite to eat. Really, really economical. And if you have time and you're here on a Sunday, it really is worth coming up and taking a look around there, because it's never the same. You can come 2 weeks and it'll be completely different. So that's just another local market that you can take a look at. Now, as well, as far as shopping goes, there are a number of souvenir shops that run sort of south of the main square down port side. Now, just be careful here. You have to watch for gringo pricing, because they're going to start high, because if they think you're going to pay that price, they're going to, try and get as much money as you can. So don't be afraid to just negotiate a little bit. Usually you will be able to save a little bit of money there. But this is very, very touristy, souvenir-ish type of thing. So just be aware. When you come over to La Colonia, near the square up here on this side, there is also a number of little shops and things that you can shop at. And they're less touristy, but they're more, I guess you would say, practical things. Like maybe if you need something for your Airbnb, or you need something for your rental, or that kind of thing, you'll be able to find those kinds of things up here as well. Now, when I talk about the two different sides to Puerto Morelos, just be aware that the port side is very, very much more touristy than the Colonia side, because that's where the beach is, and you have a lot more short-term people staying there, and not a lot of locals live down there. So the prices will be a bit higher than what you're going to pay up at La Colonia for restaurants and those sorts of things. So don't be afraid to come up to La Colonia. There are some amazing restaurants up here as well. Portside is a lot of fun. There's beach clubs that have live music. There's beautiful, beautiful places to eat right on the water. But just be aware that you're gonna pay for that ambiance. And I know it's not expensive at all. Don't get me wrong. It's just going to be a little bit more money than what you would pay up on La Colonia side. So that kind of leads me into a language as well. As you are aware, Spanish is the main language of the country, Mexico. So, but when you're on the port side, most of your waiters waitresses, service people are going to speak English. So you don't really need to worry too much about learning the language, although it is nice to know a few words. But when you come up on the Colonia side, the English is kind of hit and miss. A lot of people speak a bit of English, and if you know a few words in Spanish, you're easily able to get by. You don't need to be fluent in Spanish. I'm not by any means. But just remember to treat everybody with respect and kindness, and that will go a long way. As far as taxi drivers, they can be a bit hit and miss as far as English speaking goes as well. So be sure that you have your address, and perhaps even have it written down on a piece of paper so that you can show them, so that they can understand, if they don't speak English, where it is you need to go. Okay, so everybody comes to Mexico for the food. So what about eating out? This little town has got so many amazing eateries. It's unbelievable. There are all different types of cuisine, lots of seafood, lots of authentic Mexican food, Italian, Japanese, Indian, whatever you want, you will be able to get it here. Now again, the beach side is going to be more expensive, but don't be afraid. I know I keep saying the same thing. Don't be afraid to come up to La Colonia. There are some amazing little places up here that serve awesome food. Where you eat the most is going to depend obviously on where you're staying. If you're staying portside, you're probably going to eat most of the time down there. And if you're in La Colonia, you're going to eat up here. So, but please don't not go to the other one, because, well, obviously if you're staying in Colonia, you're going to go to the beach, because I mean, that's why we're here. But if you are staying beachside, don't be afraid to come up. It's just amazing. And don't be afraid to try that little hole in the wall with the plastic tables and chairs, because there is some amazing food that comes out of those little establishments. There are lots of places in between as well on both sides, so something for every budget. I've been here this is my 4th year, and I have only got a bad meal maybe twice, and I kind of chalked that up to they were just having a bad day. So just remember to bring your courtesy and your patience, and spend some of your money in the local shops and restaurants. And of course, enjoy that amazing sunny beach. And the snorkeling along the reef is just something out of this world. Just be aware that sometimes during the year there will be a little bit of the sargassum come in, and there's no way of predicting when and where it's going to show up. And the local municipalities, they work really, really hard to keep it cleaned up, but just be aware that is something that is a part of life in Puerto Morelos at the beach. Also be sure when you're here to go out the Ruta de los Cenotes and visit a cenote. You can't describe what it's like. You just really have to experience it yourself. And there are many to choose from along the route. And again, you can take local transportation out there to visit the cenotes as well. The only thing to be aware of is that the buses along there maybe only run every half an hour or so. So when you're coming back, you may be waiting for a little bit on the side of the road until one comes along to pick you up. So hopefully this has helped you plan for your visit to Puerto Morelos this winter. It's a lovely little town. It's got a great mix of locals and foreigners as well. And I'm sure you will enjoy your time here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.